driving my car. A guy just jacked me calling here. He just stole it, NASCAR driver. So we're going to take the Mustang out for a quick ride. So.
Houston, so I drove the 4 hours down there.
Yeah.
I was his first one. He hadn't had the room set up, all that stuff. So I was helping him set up his own podcast room and everything.
That's great. That's amazing.
I was like, man, this isn't what I signed up for.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But he had some issues, and so it was good. And the other one was with Hazard Ground with Mark Zeno.
Oh, okay.
Who's a former, what I was funny about doing that one is I was doing it, I was asked to do it, blah, blah, I did it. And as we were talking, found out we were in fifth group the exact same times, actually probably we deployed the exact same location, and we may have ran into each other at like the chow hall or down at the motor pool or whatever, because we had crossed paths. He was in just different battalion, but exact same location, the exact same time I was there.
Isn't that crazy how people always talk about the world being big, but really it isn't.
And I mean, I know you've heard that term, and of course it was a movie in the 90s, I believe, the 6 degrees of separation.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine how that does not apply to veterans and 3, maybe 4 times, I would think?
So and that's why Julie Cyril, who's a friend of ours, her research out of Kentucky showed that a suicide attempt, when you have a suicide attempt, it used to be for some, and I don't even know where this came from. It used to only, they say, affect 6 people. Her research shows that it affects 135 people, because if you actually look at your circles, right, you got your immediate family, then you got your family members, then you got your friends, and then you got your coworkers. I mean, it's a ripple effect. So if you look at you drop a rock, in the water and watch the ripples, that's the effect you have all the way out through your own circle. So the research shows it's 135 people that are affected by one suicide.
That's a great point to bring up, and especially with social media, it makes everything smaller. So really, I'm surprised that number isn't actually higher, because
it's probably
depending upon how big your, some people do a lot on social media, some people don't do a lot on social media. So I think it's how big your platform was when that recorded, and when that was publicized, or when people found out and knew about it. It's pretty amazing. Hey, listen up, Mental Health Warriors. I want to thank you for tuning in. Tom and I was just having a great conversation. I'm super excited about the show tonight. A good friend of mine, Tom, that I've known. When did I first meet you? In 2000? Was it 2012? I first met you.
I
don't remember what it was at a conference. And you're going to know more about Tom's story. It's similar to mine. We became really good friends over the years. He just recently retired out of the military. So thank you for your service. We would always seem to run into each other in conferences. The last big one I think we went to was the 2017 DoD VA conference in Colorado, and that was a lot of fun.
It was.
Hey, listen up, Mental Health Warriors. Before I jump into it, please to go out to VeteranTrashTalk.com, visit all of our podcasts, visit our merchandise store to get your Veteran Trash Talk Mental Health Warrior shirt. Tom, I'll get you one in the mail. I'll get your address after we're done.
Definitely.
It's one thing I say about this T-shirt is I had a guest on my show, and she said I should put the text number on the back of the T-shirt, and so I did. That was Linda Diaz. Her daughter had completed suicide, and she's done a lot of great, amazing things. So yeah, please go out there and order your T-shirts. We got a whole lot of nice T-shirts out there. I'm wearing the Ultimate Sacrifice Foundation T-shirt today. Just did a kind of an emotional post on Facebook. You can go out to my Facebook and see it. That's really gone viral out there on the internet. And so, it's a good point. A lot of young guys went to war, never came back, and never got to have the joys of being a dad. I know you're a dad. I'm a dad, and that's one of the things that I truly enjoy. But hey, without that, Mental Health Warriors, I want to introduce you to Tom Cruz, the one famous guy. I finally was able to lock him down. He's been traveling all over the world. He does speaking events like I do, and a bunch of other things, but he retired out of the military and right straight back to work. But I will tell you, and I'm not going to say what it is because I want you to talk about it, but when you retired out of the military and the job that you took is something, I think that you're really helping a group of people that seem to be forgotten at times. And I think that's pretty important, and my audience is going to find that out here in a moment. But hey, Tom, the floor is yours. Go ahead and let everybody know a little bit about you. and we'll continue the conversation, with it. But you were a stellar soldier. I remember, when you in uniform and everything, you always look sharp. But you're sporting the beard pretty good now. So, one thing, I retired and I grew my, of course, it's gray now, but it takes a lot of maintenance to keep a beard up. I never, man, you got to trim it every day. You got to put oil on it. But my wife told me I can't shave it. So I guess I just have to deal with it.
Exactly. That's the only reason I have a beard right now is I've tried 2 other times and those were deployments, and I got laughed at by Iraqis, and then so I never wore it again. And now that I've been out, my wife and son are the only reason I have it on, have one right now, because my normal instinct every morning is to shave. So I have to fight that.
And then you have to get used to the itchiness, of course I'm past that now, but, but then once you get used to it, then you don't want to get rid of it. So,
yeah, I don't know. I still fight that feeling. I'm like, I don't know. So yes, my name's Tom Cruz, retired first sergeant. I did 26 years in the Army. I was a mechanic, a counterintelligence agent, and interrogator. My last duty station was over in Belgium working for NATO. And I really love doing that, but that's not really where my passion lied. My passion lies within the mental health field. Why? Because actually just a couple of days ago, 3 November 2010, I attempted to kill myself and my fiance. I don't remember much of the situation. The much I do remember are pretty bad. The only reason I'm alive today is her ability to talk us out of that situation. Had nothing to do with me. A lot of the messages I was receiving, because I did send messages out and all that, weren't good. And so her ability to talk them down, talk the police down, and then stick with me afterwards, stuck with me through Walter Reed, through the whole process, was able to stay in. So I've been doing that for 12 years, traveling the world everywhere, because I've been diagnosed with everything from PTSD, all that, you name it, I've got it supposedly. But there was never no true diagnosis of what happened that day. I've been traveling the world, talking, trying to learning more suicide prevention resources, tools, talking to people, because talking to them helps me. And then I said, well, that's good. But how I got to Texas was I ended up working with incarcerated veterans and general population, and then sharing my story in there and getting them to basically stop doing bad, stop going to jail. And so that's kind of a real overview of what I do.
It's you brought up a good point, because when I attempted suicide in 2002, I don't know what triggered me that night. I don't, and that scares me the most, right? And so I'm very careful about things, because I don't understand what went through my mind at that moment where I decided that I didn't want to live no more. And they call it a coupling effect, right? When everything comes together. And once that occurs, it's hard to get people not to follow through with it, right? Once that coupling occurs. And I always said throughout all my speaking events, when I would do it when I was in the military, and since then, is that you have to get to them before those things couple together. Because once they couple together, it's it's hard to break that cycle.
So the two sides, there's the obvious people.
Yeah.
And then because skeptic about mental health and therapists and all that stuff, but I had so many things that came about in a short period of time that I couldn't control, that my body literally quit. I didn't tell it to quit. I didn't choose. I wasn't going to do this. This isn't me. This isn't who I am. I didn't go out and do that kind of stuff. And I never saw it coming. No one around me saw it coming. But now that I look back at my life, I had a lot of things leading to that moment that I couldn't.
Yeah.
And so being self-aware of yourself, really not those around you, but really you got to be self-aware of yourself.
That's a great point, because one of the things I talk about here on my podcast, Mental Health Warrior, is learning about yourself and taking care of yourself, both spiritual, mental, and physical, because I think it's important. But to truly look inward, right? That is extremely difficult to do, and that's why a lot of people aren't successful in therapy, right? You can correct me if wrong, Tom. You probably agree with this. When you're going to a therapist, you don't completely trust the therapist, right? Now, and I bring this up a lot, that you have to have that trust, because if they don't break down those walls, you're never going to get there. And that's a hard thing to do when you start. But when you go down that road of looking at yourself, right, and all the things that, like you were saying, you saw things once you went through what you went through, and you're starting to look at that self-awareness, you realize that, yeah, there was moments and points in your life that could have steered you that way.
So that is one of the key things I tell people now is my first bout with suicide, a suicide in my life, not me personally, but I had a boss that ended up taking his life. Is why we were downrange. He came back home, took his life. I dealt with that. Why I was downrange. I had to come back, bury him, come get the troops, bring them home, bury him again, and then I went and sought help. And so when I sought help, I was sought it outside the base. I didn't want the base. So I went and saw somebody on the outside, still associated with the military in one aspect, but she didn't give me what I needed. She didn't tell me what I wanted to hear. And so when she gave me her advice, and I was like, no, I'm not grieving. This is a different type of grief. This is messing with me. She kind of treated me as this was just, you're grieving, not a big deal. And I told her, I rode my motorcycle that day and told her, I was like, with your help, what you gave me, I feel like going riding my bike into a wall. And she was like, she just let me go. She laughed. She was like, no, that's okay. No. You're just grieving. And so I never sought help again, because I was like, if this is the help I'm going to get, I'm never going to get it.
Yeah.
Fast forward 2 years. Now I have no choice but to go to a psych ward. I have no choice but to see therapists.
Yeah.
So what I tell people now is therapy is so crucial. I should have not quit. I should have went and continued to find a therapist. Not that's going to say, Tom, you're right. The world is horrible. You're the man. No, everything you say is right. But somebody that's going to compliment me, that I'm going to share my deepest, darkest secret with, that I feel comfortable with giving them and receiving it back. So I should not have quit. I should have kept finding somebody that matched me, because you're going to share them stuff that you've never shared with friends, family, your spouses, yourself. So keep looking. Don't stop. If you find somebody that discourages you or doesn't match up with you, find somebody that does match up with you, that will listen, that does help you, but not somebody that's just going to pat you on the back every time you go in there and be like, the world's against you. You got to find that balance and just keep trying until you find it. Because like I use the analogy, how many of us have ever just dated somebody and said, wow, that's the one I'm going to marry and be with for 95 years, right? You've gone out, you've dated, you've tried out, it's yeses, nos, this works, that doesn't work. You've tested the water out, and you found out what you're acceptable for and what they are. And it's a match. You dated multiple people to find the person that you believe is going to be your match. Therapy is no different. You find that match that's going to be there for you.
And I tell people all the time too, when you're on your road to recovery, you may lose friends during that road, because then you start realizing, are they really friends? Or what really is going on is they themselves are having issues and problems. They don't want to address that. They see you getting better, or you changing your life or making positive changes, and they don't want to be part of that. Or they want to try to sabotage you because they're jealous, because now you're trying to find that happiness that has eluded them.
I mean, that goes all over for, like, I've lost, well, I don't want to say I lost. I don't have contact with certain people in my life, family members, because again, they couldn't accept the way that I have to be now. And I understand that I don't have an understanding of what really happened, that it could happen again. And then the next time it does happen, it could end up poorly. So I have to surround myself with a warrior team that is going to be there to support me. And so I have had to cut family members out of my life, because they're not exactly what I needed to be able to be healthy, to continue to be healthy. And that's how I used it when I talk to the incarcerated veterans and the guys in the jails is, you guys are going to get out and be put in the exact same environment that you're going back to. You need to make boundaries. You need to make your mental health strong. You need to be able to have a mentor, somebody to call when life is rough on you, and instead of you falling back to your vices of drugs, alcohol, bad homeboys, baby mama drama, all that stuff, you need to make yourself core strong, and you're going to lose friends because they're so used to seeing you being the OG on the street or the drug dealer or the drug user or whatever else. And when you come out and you're changed, people are going to come and test you, and they're going to be like, hey man, glad you're back on the streets. And when you changing and being going, you know what, hey, that's not my life anymore. That's not what I want to be. I want to be better for my family, my community, myself. You're going to lose a lot of those friends, and you don't have to lose them. You set boundaries.
Yeah.
You can still keep those people as your friends, address to them, this is what I need. This is who I am. You can either accept it or don't, and still keep your friends if they accept it. If they don't, you're going to have to make that tough decision.
Yeah. And I think, especially for addicts, I think that's a hard lesson to learn, because then you realize, were they truly your friend, or were they just there because you gave them something that they needed? Whatever.
Well, that's what I ask them in the jails. I'm like, so how many of these guys that are your friends, your buddies, your diehards, how many have put money on your books? How many have come visited you? How many have visited your family the right way? Like, made sure that they got the help they needed, and took your kids to school or picked them up, or if your family was down on money, gave them some money. How many of them were there when you were incarcerated for 6 months, a year, 6 years? How many of them were really there? Then answer if those are really your friends.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious, and I maybe you can answer this. So if you are getting VA disability benefits and you're convicted of a felony, do you lose those benefits?
So, wow.
If you don't know the answer, that's okay. It just popped in my
No,
head.
it's what I'm dealing with right now. Is it's so there is a standard. You still do get benefits. It is cut down to like 30% or something. And then when you get out, you can, so I'm dealing with this with a lot of guys right now that are getting out. I'm working with them with the VSO and the VA. It all depends on what their 214 says, because not everybody gets out as honorable, or some of these have all kinds of the other four other discharges.
Right.
So it depends on what discharge they got in their 214. Also depends on their crime, not really their crime, but how long they were in there for. So it really goes on your 214. Whatever your 214 says when they get out, that's what they got to try to work to improve on. Now that makes it harder when they've been incarcerated, but they do lose some of their benefits in there. But they are still entitled to certain benefits according to 214. So whatever that says, like I've been doing a lot of Google and working with VA, VSO that we have is, okay, so what benefits do they get, don't get, what can they use, the GI, like everything's put on hold while they're incarcerated.
Right.
But when they come back, everything can be reinstated, and then like going to get their benefits or get their disabilities or get some stuff. It's so weird. It's like there's different levels. Like they qualify for some stuff, but then don't qualify for some. But then all they got to do is get it upgraded, and then they can do it. But that's a difficult process, because like in our area, there's only one person, and she's never in her office. She's always traveling around trying to help others. So it's hard to like run that. So it is it's a very slippery and tough role. And it goes back to these guys got to be honest with themselves.
Yeah.
When I sat in the psych ward, I had nothing but time to figure out my triggers, what was wrong with me, what path I wanted to make. And I share that with these guys. I'm like, you're in jail. It's just like me being in the psych ward. You have nothing but time to figure out your triggers, what path you actually want to lead now, and start. And I tell them, come with a strategy. When you come out, what is it you want to tackle? How do you tackle? Where do you get your paperwork? And how do you take that to the VSO or the VA and start working all that stuff? But yeah, they do run into some issues, and definitely while they're in, but it can get resolved if you have the right people on you.
Well, I was just thinking that, for somebody who's trying to make that change, a veteran, he's coming out of the prison system, to have, that work or that availability of those benefits again could be the difference between them changing their lives and not going back to the life they had before, because now they have something to fall back on where they didn't, where they might have difficulty finding a job or finding a place to live or this, that, like everybody's situation is different.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see where that could be very difficult and confusing. I mean, hell, not even being in prison, the VA is confusing to use sometimes. I mean,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Tom, I'd like to jump in just here for a second, because I have experience with a brother of mine who went through that. And my concern is more for these men and women is What about the medical treatment? What about the mental health treatment? I mean, that is a benefit, in fact, that they are deserving of, probably the most important one, even more so when they're incarcerated. Do they get what they need in that environment, or is that part of their incarceration or struggle as well?
So it is part of the struggle, because regardless if they get the help in there or not for that, that's still just the struggle of always, you're always your fight or flight there. You have to watch out for your back. You got to watch out what you say, all that stuff. And even in the well-mannered pods, you still have to deal with that. They do have mental health support in there. They do get meds. Their meds are brought to them every day, or however that their med cycles are. They do get their medications. But that is a really good time for them in there to settle a lot of their issues. Now, probably do they see mental health as much as they want? No. But when they do start seeing that stuff, a lot of it, when they get out again, is a struggle, because they have to find some location to get that, right? So there are, at least here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, there is a hospital that is for the underserved, which includes the incarcerated, so they can go to them, but they've got to understand that they've got to go and like register for it. There's a process, and then they can get the medications for free to low cost to free, and then stick with it. But it's an ownership back on them to do that. The veterans going over to the VA and filing their benefits. And then, because even if they have, even at least what I've researched, and I've got to work with the VA on this, no matter what their discharge was, they're still given the benefits from the VA. They're still the medical and all that stuff. But the discharge messes with like their GI Bill and some of their other stuff. So it's weird, because some of the stuff that messes with it overlap, which doesn't make sense, which is, well, typical for the VA, right?
Yeah.
But they do get to be able to go and get they can get get a mental health appointments. They can get medications from there. They do have those rights according to the VA website, no matter what their discharge was. And the crime, and then their incarceration really doesn't play a role in it. Their 214 does, and then their own will to go do the stuff.
Yeah. Well, and that's probably the biggest thing. It is, and I know you do it, but I guess there isn't like a program out there or an organization out there that caters to imprison veterans to make sure they have this information prior to being released, or not.
So they do. So it depends. So like, I'm fortunate enough to Fort Worth, the facility that's here. We have a great chief. We have Chief Noakes, and we have a great Sheriff Wayborn. Sheriff Wayborn actually was the one that had said, "Hey, we're going to set up a vet pod." So there's literally a vet pod in the facility that I go to. So 24 guys, vet pod. It's literally their pod. So they make their beds. They get up and do PT. They've got the symbols all over the jail. And so they're held to a higher standard. And then we have a vet court here in Dallas-Fort Worth too. So and the two judges that are on it are veterans. So we have that, and but then you go to other locations, they don't have that. Like I know Tampa has one, they have a vet court. Ohio, I think, has a good vet court. Like one of the counties above here, Dallas-Fort Worth, has a vet pod, vet court type stuff. So it's hit and miss of where you go. Not everywhere has them, not every jail has them. It's not supported all over the place, but there are locations. So they do. So the VA comes and sees them. They can start some of their stuff in there. They've got like if their discharge is upgrading, they give them contact information of who to do that. They give them the VA book and all that. So these guys do get those types of resources. But again, it takes the initiative of the person to go do that. And what defeats you is this right here. That's what defeats me every day.
Yeah. I fight my mind every day. I mean, it's hard. I mean, and it can take you down a road trip so quickly. And it's like, I've dealt with a couple of course, I get Botox in my back, right? And then when it starts wearing off, because where it is, I get nerves firing weirdly across my chest. And it makes me feel like I'm having a heart attack, but I'm not. It's just the nerves, right? And it's like one thing the doctor said, I had a screen that popped up. Always said to me, if you're having a heart attack or heart issue, it doesn't go away when you turn your head, because when I would move my head, it would hit the nerve differently and it would go away or stop and move to a different part. And here, and I talked about it on a couple of podcasts ago, normally I can shake that off, but it took me days to shake that off. And it kind of spiraled me down to depression because
Wow.
it just makes me miserable. Because to me, working out is my release, right? It's what I do to decompress myself or refocus my training. And when I can't do that, I don't have anything else. So what I started doing, and I used to play it all the time, is went back to playing gaming. We have PS4s in my house. I played video games my whole life, but when my father passed away, I kind of stopped playing because we used to play together all the time, and we used to play Destiny all the time. So now what do I do if I can't work out? I go upstairs and I start banging out on Destiny.
Oh.
So I've been started playing video games again.
And that's what I tell guys both in the jail, out of the jail, all through my stuff. I said, not that I'm against medication or being medicated. I
Right.
believe that there is a place and for that. What I do believe though is true is that, and I know I've seen it, is that we can reduce the amount. Instead of 12 bottles, we can go down to 6 bottles. How do we get to 6 bottles of pills? Is by using a holistic other means. What
Yeah.
did we like doing before the traumas that we had? What
Yeah.
did we like doing? Was it working out? For me, like you said, for me, my two, because I'm not medicated, because a lot of the medications I was given did mess with me, and I do still have side effects from
I'm
them.
not
So I found
medicated.
other ways.
I'm the same way.
So I use photography and gaming,
Yeah.
to reset my brain. Why? Because when I go do a photo shoot, I grab my camera, go to the zoo, go to the beach, go to wherever. I've got to take the right angles. I got to get the right picture. I got to get the right, all this stuff set up, right? And then I got 1,000 pictures, and then I got to bring them back, and I got to edit those, and I got to find them. And what have I done? I've reset my brain to focus on something else that I enjoy doing. Gaming's no different. I've been gaming since Atari Coleco. I
Yeah.
took #1 in Europe and #2 in the Army in 2020 in a tournament.
Nice.
I still game, like that's my, and I don't choose long games because I don't have time to do 17 hours to get a special boot that don't do
Right.
anything. But
That's what
I
I like
do,
about Destiny. You can go in Destiny and you can do like Crucibles or
you
the Gambit or whatever, and they're 15, 17 minutes, 9 minutes, do the
my games
Vanguard
are
strikes or
20
whatever.
to 25 minutes, right?
Yeah.
They're quick games. Why? Because again, it's talking to other people, teamwork, quick kill games. And it resets my brain to focus on strategy and stuff that I actually enjoy. So
Yeah.
I try to tell others, find your passion. What did you like doing? Reading, running, working on cars, what was your thing to just do that as your reset button? And I think we could reduce the amount of medications people are on or the need for it. If they incorporate something else with it, they
Yeah.
can reduce it. Now, maybe not get rid of them. Got it. We need it. Some people do.
Yeah, everything needs to be done with your doctor because some of those medications, they can really mess with you.
Mhm.
And then, and it's important. So when a veteran leaves the prison system, it's important that those meds are continued because some of those mental health meds really, it takes months and months and months for that stuff. Once you stop taking it, or you can't even, some of them can't stop cold turkey, it could kill you,
Mhm.
you know. So
Yes.
that's important. But I'm glad you brought up about photography and stuff is, you do have to find something else that gives you joy. And I talk about this in my podcast. I enjoy the podcast. I enjoyed you speaking events. I have my book coming out, this in January. I'm hopeful. Uh, so I try to do many different things. Of course, I do car shows. I've had my Mustang. I've done a lot of car shows this year and won best of show many times. But in the trunk of my Mustang, I have my T-shirt and the VTT stuff on the hood of the Mustang because who comes to car shows a lot? A lot of it's veterans, and they got their cars and they're happy to show them off and stuff. And so, I used to show cars a lot when I was a kid and I stopped doing it when I joined the military. And then after I retired, I went back to doing it. But I mean, that's a really tight community there. And I've had so many great conversations. And one thing I have a 1969 Mustang. And guys who follow me know because we did a big project on it. And then I just modified my 2022 Chevy Colorado truck this year. But one thing I didn't realize with my 1969 Mustang is that how much of effect on Vietnam veterans that 1969 Mustang had on them.
Mm.
And because I don't know how, every show I go to, I got guys coming up to me and women who say, this was the car I always wanted. This is the car that I bought coming out of Vietnam, or this is what, at the military academy, this is what everybody was driving was the 69. Of course, mine's a coupe, but it's a cool coupe, right? And so you guys can go out and look at pictures of it. I'll have Kevin throw a picture up when the podcast, when you guys watch this. But, and I was just surprised by that and the stories that you hear of it. But the joy in their face when they're telling the story, right? It took them back to that moment. And I'm sure you feel this when you take a photograph. When you take that and I take photographs with my phone because sometimes just odd things appeal to me, right? Like I posted a picture on Facebook and Instagram a while back of just a leaf floating on a pond. But the way the shadow was, the shadow kind of went down into the water, the leaf, and he had it perfectly until it slowly faded away. I don't know. I just liked it. So I took a picture and posted it. But it took me back to that moment that, I was fishing with my two sons down there at the college that he goes to at Hampton, Sydney. And so when I'm upset or having a bad day or something, photographs can be very powerful because you take you back to that moment. I think that's why memes are so, memes, people, I'll post a lot of memes on my Facebook page and stuff. But I think on certain photographs, they really resonate with people. And it's not so much what is said, but I think it's the picture.
Oh, yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah. I think, being in the military, we got to a lot of ours are dark humor memes. So like not a lot of people.
Well, that's why Veterans Trash Talk exists.
Yeah. And I got a little, I got a little core group of guys that we got a group chat and, we stick together and we'll send each other stuff, weirdness that we see because they're all over the world. So we send in stuff and it's weird because one guy will just put one thing up and instantly, no matter where we're at, we all get it. It's all just like, yep, been there, done it, or yep, no, I've got this. And then we'll throw up two or three memes or, harass the guy that sent the meme. And it's just, it's that camaraderie that I don't feel out here. And people always ask me, have I adjusted well from being out? And I've only been out a year. Right. And I'm like, no, I have not. I do not understand this world. I don't understand, I don't understand working in a civilian setting. Where I'm there, they say meetings at 9, I'm there at 8. Or if the paperwork's got to be done and I'm very regimented, give me a project, cool, got it done. If I don't get it, we're going to go sit down and talk about it. But it's it's just the civilian side is just, it's still a very much overwhelming for me. And I can see where as a guy that's been incarcerated, a veteran that didn't get back and was struggling just when he got out, whether he got out because he wanted to, or he was told he had to get out, they told him to get out and then he was incarcerated and then trying to get back to the real world again. It is very overwhelming. It's overwhelming for me. And, I have I don't want to say a good life. I mean, I have I have the life that I'm leading. Yeah. But now these guys that have all these struggles and we're not wondering, well, why can't they just get out of jail and go to work and why? Because the system is against them. Yeah. To get a place after you've been incarcerated is nearly impossible because the communities, see them a certain way and don't want them. Then the jobs, they only give them certain jobs because every job now requires a background check 7 to 10 years. It's very hard. So it's a lot of, unless you have that core, luckily I have a core group guys that I can share those memes with, that I can talk crap with and all that stuff. It can be very overwhelming. Yeah.
I was at an event a couple weeks ago and Nick was in town and I took my Mustang down there and one of the guys that was running one of the other things going on there, he retired. And so, and then like you, I retired August of 2021. And of course, I don't work. I retired because I have to take care of my youngest son because my wife still active duty Navy and she's stationed in Rhode Island. So it just makes more sense that, and of course, we structured our lives to where I didn't need to work. Thankfully, I'm thankful for that. But he was asking me, he says, so how did you adjust to being out of the military? Right. He was having a hard time with it because now he's sitting at home. He's got a 2-year-old. He's bored out of his mind. He's day drinking because, he's bored. Right. And he didn't find anything to fill that gap. And you bring up a good point is you have to, in the military, everything's structured, right? A lot of people don't realize that from the time we wake up till the time we go to bed, our day is structured. Even though you don't want to think it is, it's structured, right? You got to get up a certain time, you got to do BT, and you got formations, and you got meetings, and you got this, you got that, no matter what level you're at. And when you retire or when you get out, what do you have to fill that gap? And I think that's where a lot of people get into trouble because they don't realize it. And then when they do realize it, sometimes it's too late, or sometimes they're dealing with PTSD issues or other issues that takes them down that road to where maybe then they get arrested. Well, if somebody has PTSD issues and they get arrested and they go to jail for whatever they did, Well, if they didn't get that treated or learn how to deal with those triggers, they're going to have a harder time when they come out, because now, just like you were saying, it's not as easy to find housing. It's not as easy to find a job, and so you just make the pile bigger on them.
Which is
So,
why I like what we're doing. One Community USA, I'm the director of Pathways to Hope, which is helping offenders pursue excellence. That's kind of what we're doing, right? We're an organization that I go in once a week on my own now. So once a week, I spend an hour with the vets and I spend an hour with the civilian pod, and I just talk to them. I'm just real with them. I share them my own struggles, and then I bring some of my life struggles to them. I'm like, how do I deal with my kids' school? How would you deal with, like, I'm running all these situations, and I empower them to answer back, because I'm like, I'm guaranteeing you when you get out, these are some of the things you're gonna have to deal with. So if you help me, I'm helping you.